I'm back to Challenger, so back for real now. I want to start by thanking everyone who noticed I was gone. I was honestly surprised, like how many people noticed and said welcome back when I logged in again. And it was actually really gratifying. Like it's a sort of depressing thought that you could just like quietly back out of existence and no one would notice or care. So it's always nice to have your absence noted and a bit of fanfare on your return. But that being said, you can all kind of like f off now because like I might make videos that I like feel like making, but if people want like guides or something, I don't feel like I have anything interesting to say to me, and I'm only gonna do like videos that I myself feel are interesting. So yeah, but again, thank you to everyone who like noticed I took a break. And also, the reason I just posted me feeding on Blitz was I feel like sometimes when people climb, their egos get like super inflated, and they just want to like post highlights and sort of like pontificate instead of like reflecting on all the mistakes they're still making. And like once you stop looking at your own mistakes, it's doomed. And I don't mean this in like, oh, I'm so bad, everyone's so bad kind of way. Like I think there's too much of that sort of negativity. I am, obviously proud of climbing and like genuinely. Um, but like just when people like hit, masters or challenger for the first time ever and then like pivot and call everyone in the rank they were like a week ago like dog shit or something. It has always just seemed sort of ridiculous to me. Anyway, clearly I mainly got to challenge you on Janna. I just sort of realized that was what was working for me because I would just pick it into engage supports and like die a lot less than if I was playing Sona or something. So that's basically how that happened. That's also one of the reasons I've been going Guardian mainly on Janna is because I'm like picking it into engage supports, and so like Guardian is better versus yeah, like either hook supports or like CC engage tank supports. So the other reason though for Guardian is I just don't like mana flow band on Janna. I feel like it does nothing for you. Um, like by the once you have items on Janna, you're building Forbidden Idol items, and they all give a ton of mana regen, and you don't actually run out of mana that quickly. So you really don't need mana from Mana Flow Band. So it doesn't really do anything for you later. It also doesn't do anything for you early because it just like it increases your bonus mana or max mana, but it doesn't like give you mana until you hit like what is it like 10 abilities, which takes a decent amount of time on Jet. So like it's pretty rare that you actually get anything out of Mana Flow Band. I feel like, and so that's literally the only reason I don't like Sorcery Primary, and like started going Guardian is I didn't want to take Mana Flow Band. Um, so I still wanted the AP, so that's why Sorcery secondary. But I think all three runes in Resolve are useful as a primary rune. Obviously, Revitalize for shields and heals, and conditioning scales pretty well, so it's a bit of safety for you. Font of Life, I actually was sort of surprised at how useful it turns out to be. Um, I think it just works because all of Janna's abilities sort of CC enemies and put them in sometimes a position for allies to hit. And so sometimes I'll like look at the rune and see that Font of Life heals like as much or more than Revitalize or something at that point. Um, and so Font of Life also just turns out to be useful. So I'm not sure about the new Guardian, like how it actually is good or works or not. It seems better into engage than into poke, but I'm still not sure. But the main reason I just like don't like mana flow band, so I feel like this setup gives you like 5 useful secondary runes, is why I prefer it. I started doing it, so that's basically that. Anyway, as for actually like playing Janna, I mean, if you have like an E key on your keyboard, that's like the main step. I think that's like most of the battle. And so if you're going versus like a poke support instead of an engage support, then I think you could do either Area or Guardian on Janna. I'm not exactly sure which is better, but honestly, if you're playing versus a poke support as Janna, it's kind of a miserable lane that you can never win. So like you might as well just pick Sona is what I would prefer, because it's like a sort of the best case scenario for Sona that you're not versus an engage support who's just gonna like chain kill you um, over and over again. And so my sort of approach, I think, is just to pick Janna versus Engage and Sona versus Poke. And also, I think uh, Janna in games when there are a lot of like strong champions on both teams, like vaguely what that means is like sort of scary, like hard engage and CC, like a Hecarim or something. I don't know. I'm not sure exactly, but like and like Sona versus like weak champions, like a Nidalee or an Ezreal or something. I may also say, by the way, autofilled Ezreals. If you get an autofilled Ezreal, and I think you should be like legally allowed to like AFK the game or something. It's just like, uh, anyways, Sona versus Engage or not? Sorry, yeah, Sona versus Engage. You don't really want to play. Like I would rather just pick Janna. But if you do end up versus Engage as Sona, I think one thing you can do is go Guardian on Sona. Something interesting that I didn't realize until recently was that like Shield Bash actually gives resists. I always thought it was kind of a useless rune on Sona because you never like press W and like auto people that often, so it doesn't do much damage. But Shield Bash actually gives you a little bit of resist when you shield yourself, which you're kind of constantly doing as Sona. So like along with conditioning, the idea and like Guardian is because Guardian gives you a shield as opposed to Area, which will never actually shield you. The idea with Resolve on Sona is to make yourself like as unkillable as possible, along with like the Seraph shield. So you just have a lot of shields and resistances, and hopefully like don't just die. So I mean, I would still prefer personally to play Janna against Engage and Sona versus Poke, but like if you're stuck playing Sona into Engage, it is like something you can do to go resolve. But actually, I will say a bit about Janna. So I think the first decision is if you go the yellow item or the blue item, and it basically just comes down to like, can I hit enemy champions? And in a lot of cases, like the answer is no. So you have to kind of just like put the ego down and go the yellow item. Um, it is just sometimes not really possible to hit either like really long range champions as Janna, you just can't walk up that far, and like you don't have enough range to hit them consistently, or like they just have a ton of engage, and if you walk up, you'll just die. So sometimes it's just whatever. I go the yellow item, I AFK the lane, and we basically don't interact with them, and just yeah, that's hopefully we just AFK it. The blue item is if you can actually like hit enemy champions. In that case, maybe it's a little better, and it's like the I don't know more aggressive or whatever choice. Um, and then in lane, like what you want to do is sort of press W on enemies without taking that much damage in return. That's basically it. I'd usually go like a second point in W at level 4. But then start maxing E because the cooldown goes down on E and you want to have it maxed by level 9, I think. And that's about it. Yeah, I don't think there's really any sort of new mechanics on Janna that just secret knowledge or anything that just came out. It's the champion is the champion. I do think one thing though, for some reason, like her scaling is underrated now with the support items, the healing and shielding items. I think they're just really, really strong items that she uses really well, but because um, both her E and her R benefit a lot from heal and shield items. Um, and so, like, she actually scales super well, I think, and very like safely, which is nice because it feels like games are sort of fiestas where everyone tries to kill you. And so you basically always just rush Ardent Censer because it's just like a god tier item. I think also in some cases having the movement speed from an Aether Wisp and like boots early can be pretty useful. Like versus, I don't know, a Thresh or something. It just makes it easier to play against them. Um, After Censer, sometimes Crucible is really good. Like the stats are great. The active, if you remember to use it, is pretty OP in some cases. Alternatively, redemption is usually good. Sometimes Shirelia's is good. I don't. I think maybe in like super sort of Fiesta games where you're like not gonna have time to land redemption, it might be better than redemption to just get like the movement speed. Um, and in like a full build, you just have all four. Now, sometimes I go Boots of Lucidity just because I feel like the game is like ending in the next like fight or something, and going Lucidity lets you cap your cooldown reduction, which is really important because if it's like, well, this is the game deciding fight, I could get like a ruby crystal or I could finish my cooldown reduction, and it's much more important to do that. The movement speed can also be good depending on the game. Um, but in terms of like scaling, if it's going to go late game, um, I would rather get all the heal shield items. They work well with each other and with Janna's kit, and um, having all the stats and actives and everything makes you really strong late game. Um, so it's also sometimes Dark Seal and Mage Eyes. The thing is, though, I just Censer is such a good item. I like rushing it first, and so getting an early Dark Seal can delay that a bit, and boots as well. So it just feels like I just want to rush Censer. So like the Dark Seal can actually be kind of like a waste in some cases, but because yeah, like the main thing is you just want to rush your Censer and heal shield items.